to a brand new episode of In Other Words with Danielle and Zara.
So this is a podcast where we talk about a wide array of different subjects, from rejection to death, which sounds quite morbid, but I promise you that's not all we talk about. So in other words, we talk about all the things. So we just want to shout out to Artistic Beans on Instagram, who designed our cover art. So check that out. So if you're on Spotify or whatever, it's the picture right in front of you. Otherwise, if you want to get a good look at it, you can go on Instagram. So yeah, but it's really good. She's really good.
She's amazing.
We love her.
And then also just a local brand that I want to give a shout out to. It's Express Designs, spelled X-P-R-E-S-S. They are on Facebook, so you can find her on Facebook. She does engraving and woodwork, and she is based in Durbanville. Super cost effective. I had some coasters, personalized coasters made a couple of weeks ago.
Nice.
And I love them, so definitely check her out.
So today we want to speak about our university experiences. We've both in our third year. Well, I've just finished my third year. Zara's finishing her third year. And yeah, we asked a few questions. Well, we asked if you guys had any questions for us.
Yes.
So we'll answer that a bit later on in the episode. But I think now we're just going to speak about our experiences.
Yes.
So I studied BA Humanities at Stellenbosch University, which is a big institution, obviously. So we've both had quite
Huge.
different experiences. Overall, quite a positive one, I would say.
Yes.
You, Zara?
So for me, I'm finishing on the 25th of Jan, guys.
Almost.
Theology through the South African Theological Seminary, so SATS, and I was based at a campus called View Leadership College in Bloberg, and it was very different to Stellenbosch because first of all, everyone's Christian. Second of all,
that's not Stellenbosch.
second of all, like I have 12 people in my class.
Wild.
I have like bigger classes in the morning and stuff that are like 30 people. But yeah, for the most part, it's been like 12 of us through the years.
Sick.
Yeah. It's a very different experience.
Yeah,
But we're both gonna have a degree.
exactly.
Mhm.
Love that for us.
Yes. So let's chat about
Positive
the good
experiences.
things about varsity.
Right. So I think, okay, for me, one of the big ones is just that I got to study exactly what I like.
Yes.
And like with all that, I enjoyed pretty much every single one of my subjects. Luckily with my degree, with BA Humanities, you can actually choose all of your subjects. So they're all electives, which I really liked. So, at the beginning of like my first year, I took psychology and like English and all that, which was really cool. And then from then on, I could narrow down. And so I ended up majoring in political science and history, which was really cool. And I also took French as a minor, which
Yes.
was pretty cool, learning
How
another
much
language.
French can you speak?
Oui.
Oui.
But yeah, that was a really positive aspect for
Yeah.
me. And I think especially after high school, you know, like I did physics and I did maths and all that, and I was like, ugh, I'm not really enjoying this. But you kind of just take it because there's nothing else to take. Like you have to take maths. Well, you can take maths lit, but I mean, you always have to do some sort of maths. And then physics, I was like, oh, it opens doors. But I was
What
just
doors?
exactly, and you have to take like life orientation, all that nonsense.
Yeah.
So it was really nice to go to a place where you can decide
Choose
exactly what you want to
wanna
do. Yeah.
I think a lot of people actually don't thrive, if you want to say, in high school not because they're stupid,
Yeah.
but because they're doing things that they don't enjoy. So,
Exactly. And I mean, the schooling system as a whole is like so flawed.
yeah.
So yeah.
That's
Yeah, what's one of your positives?
Okay, so I think for me, just the nature of studies, and I think you'll agree with me, in varsity, especially going from high school to varsity, I think you naturally compare the two schooling experiences because
Yeah.
that's all you've ever known. But in high school, I felt like a lot of it was, let's test how smart you are by giving you a bunch of information and you have to learn it all and then basically just
Regurgitated.
regurgitate it.
Mm.
So it was basically testing your memory more than like your intellect
Yeah.
and your way of thinking.
Mm.
And obviously, I mean, that's I don't know if that's the best they could do, but that's what we
Yeah.
did in high school. And
That's just how it is.
yeah, and granted, like, I mean, high school's fine, but varsity, I feel like I've actually learned. So in high school, most of the information I learned It's gone over my head.
I
and
know.
I can barely remember anything.
Don't ask me anything about maths,
No.
please.
Whereas now in varsity, what's been nice is, I mean, the majority of both our degrees has just been essays and essays and
Yeah.
essays. But what's nice is in varsity, they teach you to critically think. So it's been all about like gathering sources, gathering different people's opinions and thoughts and information.
Then constructing your own opinions
Yes,
based on that.
Exactly. So I've just had to critically think, and it's taught me to look at the rest of life like that.
Yeah.
But also just learning to think for myself.
Yeah.
And also understanding that everything I say, I better have something to back it up with.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like school teaches you what to think and varsity teaches you how to think.
Yes.
Yeah.
Check that.
I know, I'm like a
Put that on a
philosopher.
So yeah, I think that's what's been really fun is I've walked away and I feel like it's just helped me not only in my theology but like just in
General life. Yeah, like having conversations with people, etc.
starting a podcast.
Exactly. I think another one of the positive aspects is just the freedom that you have. So I actually lived in Stellenbosch. I stayed in Res, which I'll speak more about a bit later.
Yeah.
So basically, I was thrown into just this world of like being able to do what I want.
Yes.
So if I don't want to work or whatever, like I don't want to do like homework or whatever. I mean, you don't necessarily get homework in university, which is quite nice, but
I
you
think
do have
our degrees.
Yeah,
The
you have-
majority of your work is done outside of class.
yeah, you have a ton of readings to do, and they're not compulsory, but I mean like it would benefit you.
Yes.
But if I get home and I'm like, you know what, I don't really feel like doing this, then I don't have to do
Yeah.
it. Or if I want to go to, let's say, a varsity cup game on a Monday evening, I can go do that. If I want to go
Yeah.
and see friends on like a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, whatever, I can go and do that. And in school, it's nothing like that.
Yeah.
And I think also with my degree, there wasn't actually a lot of class time. So, I mean, I would have
Yes.
classes every day, but they were quite spaced out. Or I'd just have in the morning and then nothing, or I'd just have in the afternoon and not in the morning. So it was actually nice to be able to use my time like that. And I mean, that's not because it's like an easy degree or whatever.
Oh, I hate when people say that
Same.
about like any degree. Yes, some degrees are more difficult for sure.
Yeah,
If you're
I
studying
will never
medicine,
deny that.
But at the end of the day, you're still getting a degree, so you have to be
Exactly.
doing something.
But yeah, but that, like I said, was literally because there's so many assignments, so many readings. So yeah, just having time to do what I want to do
Yeah.
and deciding when I want to do my work, when I want to do it,
And
is
that's
so
what life
nice.
is like, you know what I
Exactly.
mean? Like in school, it's like they check your homework and everything's very structured,
Yeah,
but it's not like that in the rest of your life.
exactly.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
very, very good. I think another thing that, and you'll probably agree, but it'll look very different for you, is the diversity in
Yeah.
like my environment, because yes, everyone's Christian, so that already limits diversity a lot.
Yeah.
But the thing with like Christianity is there's so many different denominations.
Yeah.
And it's very easy to grow up, especially if you grow up in a very like organized religious environment. It's like there's one way of thinking, and there are fundamentals in Christianity like
Yeah,
that
definitely.
we believe.
Yeah.
But there's so much that's up for interpretation, and for so many people, like there have been these little issues that have just divided the church and divided
Yeah.
people, whereas I felt like my varsity experience did things differently for me, because everyone in my class we all came from a different place.
Yeah.
Like, we were, all races were represented. I don't have an Asian person in my class. That's sad.
Shocking.
So almost all races were represented. People came from different backgrounds, had their own opinions on various biblical issues, and that was just nice because
Yeah.
I needed that exposure.
Yeah.
And the way that I've looked at issues have actually changed, and I've become a lot more open-minded. And also, like, even studying through SATs, I mean, we run over 69 different countries.
Hectic.
And we're on study
Yeah.
forums, which I let you read.
Yeah.
Sometimes
Bizarre.
it's very entertaining. But so I've had like super conservative people, super liberal people, and just getting to
Yeah.
learn, you know what I mean? I think
Yeah.
especially with something like, I mean, God is just like, to fathom him,
Yeah.
it's a lot in itself. So just getting to hear different people's takes on certain issues,
Yeah.
it's been really, really good.
Yeah. No, I definitely feel the same way. And I mean, in Stellenbosch, especially within the BA faculty, I mean, I can only speak on behalf of the BA faculty because that's where I studied.
I would think that to be the most diverse
Yeah.
faculty.
And also because in like so many of our classes, you're just getting like, you're really learning about a bunch of different topics and more like controversial issues as well, I'd
Yeah.
say. So it's like so far removed from high school where you just like speak about like one thing or like one aspect,
Yeah.
and like in life orientation you might have a controversial conversation.
Yeah.
But like in university, all the classes, like there's always something that's going to be
Mhm.
said or that someone's going to have an opinion on, and there's so many people of different races, different sexualities, different religions, or like
Mhm.
lack thereof of
Yeah.
religion. So it's been really nice to be able to be in that kind of environment, I
Yeah.
think.
You also learn like to be tolerant of other people.
Oh yeah,
And also just
see where people are coming from.
yes, and you realize well the world's a lot bigger
Oh yeah,
than
for sure.
I originally thought. Yeah.
Yeah.
I will say there's a part of me that like is bleak that I didn't get to experience that.
Yeah.
But I also worked in retail, so I met all the kinds of people.
That's where you find them. Yeah, negatives. What did I write here? Oh yeah. Okay. So the stress. And I mean, I think a lot of people think that I'm not like a stressed person, but I do put a lot of pressure on myself.
You internally stress.
Yeah, like especially with academics, because I do have high expectations for myself.
Yeah, because you come to your degree.
Yeah.
So you're very wise.
I am wise, I know. So I feel like I just have to like live up to those expectations, and I do, like I am a hard worker.
Mm-hmm.
I do try my best, but obviously stress happens, and like I spent a lot of time just like feeling like really anxious when I have a
Yeah.
bunch of deadlines coming up. That's the worst thing, by the way, is when like, because you don't have like all the professors like
They don't talk to
collaborating,
each other,
and so
that's
they're all
one
like,
thing.
we can just put all the deadlines in this
On the
one
same
week.
day.
I'm like, why do you
Yeah.
want to do that? So that happens, and I'm also a natural procrastinator because I genuinely do work best under pressure. Like I know some people
Really?
say that, but they really
They don't mean it.
I really do mean it.
Yeah.
I've put in like this much. You can't see my fingers. Like very little. I put in very little work on some assignments and gotten like 90s, and then the ones where I've not little work, but like in a short amount of time.
Yes.
But then others I've spent like days, and they just don't get the marks. But it just be like that. But
Yeah.
I think, yeah, learning to deal with your stress is really important. I don't think I've really gotten there, but I'm trying.
Well, you're about to do your honours, so you got another year to learn.
Exactly. Love that. Got the rest of my life, really.
Ooh. I'm actually interested to know, because I don't know if you'll have the same opinion of this, but stress in high school versus stress in varsity.
Yeah. I mean,
Ivy.
I can't really remember so much about high school. I feel like I was there
Okay.
like years ago. I do remember being stressed, and I mean, like just like crying before like maths or
I cried
oh,
during maths, after maths.
Yeah, doing all those things. I mean, I cry as well when I get stressed in university, but I don't think it's as hectic. It's also a sense of being like, it is what it is. That's what I've learned. It is what it is. That's what I've learned mostly in university, and especially because you don't have that pressure to get A's.
Yeah.
And I think both you and I felt that in high school quite a lot.
Yes.
But now, like in university, if you pass, like you get your degree. You don't need to
Ooh.
have like your name on a board or whatever.
Yeah.
Like that's not important. But yeah, I remember being stressed in high school. I think I'm more relaxed in my stress
Yeah.
now, if you know what I
Yes.
mean.
No, I like the same. I cried like all the time in high school.
Yeah,
Well, not just for stress.
personal reasons.
Yeah. But I think I've cried like once in varsity in second year when I was very, very stressed. I actually like my heart, especially being in youth ministry, like I was only in high school like a couple of years ago. But
Yeah.
even now, I feel like it's so much more stressful.
Mm.
And I think what I like about varsity is there isn't that like comparison culture.
Yeah.
Like you're a lot less.
Yeah, you're not like asking your friends all the time,
How much
like,
did you
what
get
did you
for
get?
this?
Because
Yes.
it's nobody's business.
No, exactly. And I also, and I don't know if this is like this for everyone, but there's more of like a sense of camaraderie.
Oh, yeah.
Like in varsity, it's like, we got your back. We're
Yeah.
like kind of in this together. Whereas in
Yeah.
high school, it's this like it's like very competition like.
Mm.
And also, I just feel like, I don't know, the teachers just always seem stressed to me in high school.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know.
I know
why.
exactly what you mean.
Not that they
mean,
didn't
they
have
are-
a lot of work,
they
but
are
it was
busy.
just like, no, exactly. Especially in, I think, the high school we went to, the teachers have a million other things to do other than
know.
teach.
But it always
So-
seemed like they were running out of time with things to teach.
Yes, they were like Hamilton.
Yeah, running out of time. Yeah, and I think in university as well, like sometimes you can just tell the lecturers are like, oh, we have to get through this work, but at the same time, they're not like they're not putting that on the students.
Yeah.
But also the lecturers are so nice. I mean, you do get not nice ones, but I mean, at least for me,
Yes.
like most of them are very understanding, and like if you absolutely need an extension or a deadline or something, they'll say, okay, it's fine. I mean, most of the time they won't,
Yes.
but if you like really go and talk to them, they really
Yeah.
understand.
I also think in varsity, like, okay, I have had, my lectures have all been amazing. My facilitators who do the marking, whom I don't get to meet because they're all over the world, some of them have been difficult, some of them have been amazing.
Yeah.
But I find that you get treated more like a human.
Yes.
And some teachers in high school I love, but you get those other teachers where it was like, you can't drink in my class, you can't eat in my class.
I
And
hate
it was,
that.
you were taught like, you felt like you were like in the army or in prison or something. Whereas,
You can't drink during exams, you can't go to the bathroom during exams.
and it's like,
And like you'd think going to university in like a proper academic environment like that, they would be the same. But no. If you need to go to the bathroom,
you go to the bathroom.
go to
yeah.
the bathroom.
I don't know. I just like the being treated like a human.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
So, yes. And then a negative for me, and this is not the same for you, is my holiday. So, I mean, even when we ask questions on social media, one of my best friends, Chloe, who studies with me, she's like, why did SATS not give us holidays? Because even though we are the South African Theological Seminary,
Yeah.
like I said, we run over so many different countries, so we run on a different timeline. So instead of having semesters like you guys do, we had terms, but the term started like Feb, March, April.
Yeah.
And like, for example, I'm in a term now that started in November. So it's November, December, Jan.
So weird.
So, and like as one term ends, there's like a week of like marking or studying or whatever, and then you immediately start your new subjects.
Yeah.
So I can confidently say that over the past 3 years, I haven't actually had a holiday. And even if I have had a holiday, I've always at the back of my mind thought, okay, but I have this coming up.
Yeah.
So that's been a bit bleak. Not gonna
Yeah,
lie.
that is really sucky. I mean, I think with most big universities, like Stellenbosch, for example, you do get quite a lot of holidays. I mean, it depends what you study. I know like medicine students, they don't get so much.
Oh.
But we get quite a lot, like in the middle of the year, really big holiday at the end of the year as well, like almost 3 months, which
Must
is,
be nice.
it is nice. So like for people who want to get jobs, it's quite easy to do that.
Yeah.
But at least for me, when I took French, I always had a book to read or a bunch of homework to do. So it was also like, I have a holiday, but I'm like, I have so much to do. And then
Yeah.
our like week holidays between terms, they're not holidays,
No.
they're study breaks.
Yeah, 100%.
But I'm really grateful that we do get big holidays like that. It's so nice. But yeah.
Okay. Any other negative?
Yeah. Okay. So I
situation?
spoke about freedom for my positives.
Yes.
But I'm going to say that also forms part of a negative
Yeah.
because you really have to have so much self-discipline.
Especially when you living away.
Yeah, exactly. Like you don't have some kind of authority figure, like a parent telling you, oh, you should really go and do this. None of that. It's all on you. Like
Yeah.
if you don't study for a test or you don't go to class, that's on you. And like you really do have the option in most classes, like I think for most faculties as well, like if you don't go to a class because they're so big, like no one's gonna like say anything
Yeah.
or notice or like check up on you even. So yeah, that's all on you to do. And like I said, when it comes to readings or doing extra work like that or like starting assignments whenever, like no one's there to check up on you. So you just have to do that yourself. But yeah, like also when it just comes to like time management, like seeing friends, or if you're dating, like seeing your boyfriend, like you just really have to prioritize and do all that kind of
Mhm.
stuff.
Yeah.
But
You've done well though.
I haven't
I
done
know certain
well.
people in Stellenbosch too.
Yeah, I think a
Had a
lot
tougher
of
time.
a lot of first years, it's like, ooh, now I can just do whatever I want, and then they don't work, and then they fail the year, and it's like, oof, embarrassing.
What
No,
did
I'm
you
joking.
say? You once told me that Stellenbosch was the. Wow, what's that saying?
Is it a drinking time with a studying
Yes.
problem? We can get more into that in a bit, but yeah.
Yeah, so that is hard. And then also, like something that I've struggled with that has been a negative just is how things are marked.
Yeah.
I feel like there isn't a general like consensus, and also
Yeah.
with essays, it's not like there's a memo like maths where the answer is right or wrong. So I feel like, and I think you touched on this a little earlier, there have been assignments where I've worked my butt off,
Yeah.
and I'm like, where's the mark? And
Where's it?
and sometimes like the feedback's just like all they do is fill in the rubric, and it's like
I know.
construction, maybe some help would be nice.
Yeah.
I remember Acts is my favorite book in the Bible,
Mm.
and I did an assignment for the book of Acts, and I got 30%.
Oh no.
This is very
That's
sad.
bleak.
I know. But then the other assignments where I'm like, oh, just gonna hand this in and
Yeah,
hope for the
hope for the
best.
best.
And I got like 90s.
What?
So just
That's
like,
bizarre.
yeah, so the marking can get frustrating. There's some days where you're like, oh, thank you, Jesus, that I got this
Yeah.
mark, and I probably didn't deserve it, but
Yeah,
oh well.
not gonna complain.
Yeah. But yeah, that's been
Yeah.
a bit frustrating at times.
Yeah, I mean that's definitely a thing for me, and like I said, I touched on it a little bit, but like I said, like the lecturers all have, even like in the same module, the different lecturers will have so many different expectations. But you just learn, and I think that's why it's actually good to not make friends, but to actually ask your lecturer, like,
yeah,
how
get
do
to
you
know
mark?
their style of marking,
Exactly.
what they like, what they don't
Exactly.
like.
And
Yeah.
most of them, like, at least with my faculty, most of them are quite open to telling you what they expect from you.
Yes, yeah. So even in mine, like
Yeah.
I've super, like, especially in my very heavy study biblical academic stuff, the lecturers, like, I'll always write in like, this author feels,
Yeah.
in reference to myself.
Mm.
Whereas like in my more practical modules like Christian counseling, conflict and reconciliation, the lady was like, you don't have to say this author, just say I.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ugh, but you learn, and it's fine. It's all good.
Okay. Do you want to get to the questions?
Okay, cool. So, I'm just going to speak a bit about hostels because
Yes.
someone asked about that, and I do actually have experience in that
I
aspect
do
because I
not.
stayed in Res in Stellenbosch. I stayed in Sururia, which was overall quite a positive experience, I
Mhm.
think. It's one of the smaller reses. I think probably one of the smallest reses. I'm not actually
Yeah.
sure. It's an all girls res, and you'd think that would be like nice and clean. No,
Really?
no, it's dirty. Girls are dirty.
That's
Like I don't know where the
horrible.
stereotype comes from that girls are clean, because that's just not true. Obviously when you're in res, you with a bunch of people from like all walks of life.
Yeah.
Some people just don't have the same like standards of sanitation that you do. So
Oh.
often like our little kitchen area would sometimes just be filthy, and like people would leave their dishes in the sink, and I'm like, just wash your dishes. I don't know why you're doing this.
Yes.
And the bathrooms, I won't get into too much, but they're kind of gross. But anyway,
I don't know if I could handle that. Like,
Yeah.
I
no, I would get very
tidy my room
frustrated.
before I go to bed every night.
Yeah, no, even me. My room was always pristine.
Pristine.
I tell you. But yeah, luckily there were always ladies there who cleaned, I think 2 or 3 times a week. So that was a godsend, really.
Shout out to them.
Yeah, shout out. But yeah, and then when it comes to food, I mostly cooked for myself. Not so much in first year because I didn't have the like facilities. I didn't have a stove or anything like that. Because you actually have to bring your own cooking stuff. So yeah, I started eating in like the dining hall, but then I didn't like the food, so I ate like pasta. Devin would make me pasta. I'd have 2-minute
Lovely.
noodles, varsity life.
The joys of, at least you had a boyfriend up the road.
Exactly. So when I started cooking for myself in second year, that was like so much better.
For the 3 months you were actually in varsity in second year.
No, I was there the full time in second year.
Oh, no, we're in
Yeah.
third year now.
I know, can you believe
Wow.
it? So what's really nice about Res is that it really helps you to get involved with the varsity life a lot more.
Yes.
So, for example, at the beginning of first year, you go into like orientation, which actually wasn't so bad. A lot of people told me that it was like the worst thing ever, but my Res was so nice and they gave us a lot of free time.
Yes.
But you get involved with Fensters, which was really fun. You have house dances, a bunch of different
Never
events.
Got to go to one.
I know. Bunch of different events throughout the year, and you also just get to meet people a lot easier. And like if
Yeah.
you want to play a sport, you can play for the Res. And
Do you play a sport?
Nope. And like if you want to do the a cappella competition, you
Yes,
can do
you
that.
can.
And I mean, you can do that with the PSO, which is basically like the place for non-res kids.
To like
It's like
have a
yeah,
place.
it's like a schoolhouse, but
Yes.
a bit different. You can also do that there, but I think it's a lot more difficult, especially if you're driving in and you're not actually living in Stellenbosch.
Yeah.
So I was really grateful for that aspect. And overall, like, I would recommend it. Just prepare yourself for some of the negative aspects.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And then, by the way, thank you to everyone who sent in questions.
Yeah, thank you.
And then dating.
Okay, well, all I really have to say is that don't expect to stay together with your high school significant other. Like, it is
Yeah,
a
really
very
don't.
it's a very different environment, and a lot of people break up in university.
Yeah.
And I mean, I was lucky enough to be able to stay with Devin. And I mean, he also had a flat in Stellenbosch, and I lived in Stellenbosch, so it was really easy to see each other.
Yeah.
But a lot of other people just don't have it that lucky. And I mean, you're in a new place with a bunch of new people. You're bound to meet new people.
Yes.
Exactly.
You also change a lot.
Yeah.
Although I would say, like, rather start dating in varsity than start dating.
Yeah, it's not a bad thing at all.
In high school.
And like I said, you do have more time, but at the same time, like, if you want to really make a relationship work, you do have to prioritize time for each other.
I feel like it must be hard, not so much in South Africa, but a lot of people travel for varsity.
Yeah.
It's like, in America, they're like, I need to decide what college
Yeah.
to go to.
No, I mean, even here, I mean, we have
There are some people
so many
that have
people like from
travelled.
KZN, Joburg, Namibia, wherever.
Yeah.
Like, there's so many people.
So relationships, I can't imagine, are easy. But if you're looking for dating tips, we do have an episode on that.
We do. Go watch
check it
it / listen to it.
Cool. And then, experimenting.
Right.
Drugs, alcohol, hookups.
Right. So we actually want to have a full episode on this because we
Yes.
realize there's so much to say.
Yes.
So
Danielle
I'm not
knows
gonna.
all about hookups.
Yeah.
She's had the same boyfriend for 5 years.
Exactly. All I can say is that all three of those things do happen in university.
Yeah.
I think especially if you are staying in Stellenbosch, you
Mhm.
are exposed to a bunch of those things.
Yeah.
And like we said earlier, Stellenbosch is known as like a drinking, partying town. But it all really depends on who you surround yourself with.
100%.
So if you're with like a bunch of people who like to go out and who like to drink every night or whatever, then you're going to be in that environment.
Yeah.
And also like, I think if you don't have so much self-control, I think it's really difficult to like
Yeah.
not do those things. Because I mean, like going out is fun. I'm not speaking so much about getting drunk and like getting high. Like, don't do that if you don't want to.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's also important to know like what your limits are,
Yeah.
what you're comfortable doing and what you're not comfortable doing.
Mhm.
So
and you learn that in varsity.
and you do learn it. And there's been a couple of times where I'm like in an environment and I see people like doing drugs and I'm like, okay, like good for them, whatever.
Yeah.
And then I realize afterwards like, oh, maybe I shouldn't have been there
Yeah.
or something like that. And like with alcohol especially, you need to know what your limits are
Mhm.
because you
Fun
don't want
tip,
to
don't mix drinks.
don't mix drinks. I mean, I do it. Not a good
You've
example.
learnt, you've learnt.
I have learned most of the time. I have learned. Yeah.
Yeah. I think, I mean, I did my good amount of that, even though not being in Stellenbosch, like literally before first year and the
Yeah.
beginning of my first
You
year.
had your moment.
Yeah. Some very sad moments.
Yeah.
But like obviously I have my opinion on it, and I think the first thing you said is the most important thing is just surround yourself with people that you trust.
And who you're comfortable with.
Yes. And I always think just like the people that you're with are going to determine the time you have, the things you do. So just make sure you're with people, like you said, you feel comfortable with, that you can have each other's back. And I also think like don't be afraid, like you're gonna be in those environments in varsity at some point
and
or
in the rest of
another.
your life as well. Like
Exactly.
you realize after high school like how many people like
Do
do
the
drugs
things.
or just drink all the time. It's actually crazy.
Yeah.
Because I feel like you're really, really sheltered in high
Yes,
school.
Yeah. So
Or at least I was.
when it comes to alcohol, don't get drunk because it can be very dangerous. Drugs, I'm not a drug person. It can be very dangerous for your body. And hookups, listen, you can kiss all the people, but you might kiss someone one day that you heavily regret.
Yeah.
So do what you need to do, but know your limits.
Yeah.
Be with people that make you so comfortable.
Exactly. All I can say about hooking up is like don't do it with someone who's in your class. Like that's
Yes.
embarrassing. Or if someone you know you're gonna see a lot. Oh, don't do that.
Yeah. And then it comes to Monday and it's like, I'm sorry.
No, it's
Who
not
are
like a
you?
Thursday in Stellenbosch.
Oh yeah.
Klein sorted
Yeah,
enough.
yeah. Get you.
But yeah, we're going to do a full episode, so
Yes.
we'll get more into our opinions and all that kind of stuff.
I'm keen. Okay. Finding a church. So this is a good question. I think in varsity, I think we were lucky. I mean, I was still staying at home. You came home on the weekend, so
Yeah.
we didn't have to make that transition.
Exactly.
I have 3 opinions when it comes to finding a church. Yes, in varsity, but also just for the rest of your life when you move or whatever. Is number 1, doctrine.
Mm-hmm.
There are some very dodge
Oh, yep.
branches of so-called Christianity,
Mhm.
people doing weird things.
Bizarre.
Yeah, bizarre. So I think go to a church where you feel comfortable with the doctrine. Like you feel like what they're teaching is legit and that you agree with where they stand on
Yeah.
important issues. Secondly, you want to be in a place where they're pushing you closer to Jesus. So you're being like challenged, but it's also a place where you can serve. You know,
Yes, yeah.
that you, because I mean, a lot of people come to church and they just want, but they're not willing to give of themselves. And it's not like spend every day at church, but just a place where you can both give and receive.
Yeah.
And then lastly, like the church is a family.
Yeah.
And so you want to be at a place where it feels like home because the church is the people.
Exactly.
The Old Testament people were meeting in houses and that was the church. It was no organized like
Yeah.
service on a Sunday and this is how we do things. So you want to be with
Yeah.
like people
Yeah.
that make you feel like you're a part.
Yeah. And just from like my perspective, because like Zara said, I didn't have to find a
Find a
church
new
or anything
church.
like that. But I know a bunch of people who did have to find a new church because they were coming from different provinces, different towns,
Yeah.
and they couldn't go home to their church. And I think, like I said, Res is actually quite nice because then you can actually like find a group of people who like you can go to church with, because I think going to new church is kind of intimidating.
Always take someone with you.
Yeah. And there's so many churches around Stellenbosch and in Stellenbosch, obviously.
And everywhere.
Exactly. Like, especially then, a lot of them know that they're going to get a lot of students.
Yeah.
So they do like cater towards the
Yes.
students. And there's like a lot of church events that happen.
Yes.
Yeah. So I think if you really like put yourself out there, like
Yes.
you can find one. So don't worry.
Don't worry. And then lastly, dealing with diversity. So this was quite when we got this question, it came with a 2.5 voice note,
Yes.
2.5 minute voice note, because again, it was like, how do you handle yourself? When do you speak up? When do you keep quiet?
Like as a Christian specifically.
Yes, because you're with people that think so differently.
Yeah.
So what is your opinion?
Okay, so like I said, in Stellenbosch and the different campuses of Stellenbosch, there is so much diversity, and there's like I'd say probably most people disagree with a lot of the things that Christians do or believe. So when it comes to like knowing like when to speak to people, like about faith, about your faith, or about like if you see someone doing something that like you don't really agree with, I think it's just always important to remember like where that person's coming from.
Yeah.
So like for example, especially with like LGBTQ plus people, like these are people generally who've come from it's really difficult environments and who have been like discriminated against, and in university that's really a good time for people to like find like-minded people. I think so I would never go up to someone and to be like, oh, I don't really agree with what you're doing, unless they've specifically asked me. But then even so, it's like so important to like, I feel like keep yourself open, like to having a conversation with them, like don't just shut down, be like, I think what you're doing is wrong and you're going to hell.
I think
like that's just not
varsity. You're at the edge and you're in the space where you can actually learn from other people.
Exactly. So yeah, just like love people like Jesus did, and speak to people like Jesus would. And I mean, Jesus did have his moments where he was like straightforward,
but can I tell you that those moments were always with the religious people?
Yes,
the hypocrites.
so true. So
just keep that in mind.
And like learn to love diversity as well.
Yes,
like I said, keep yourself open, and these are great opportunities for making new friends, forming relationships with people, which I think is one of the most important parts of being a Christian, is just forming relationships with people.
I think just in regards to diversity, and you saying like embrace diversity, and even if you read in the Bible, like it says like there will be neither male nor female, Jew nor Gentile, like God has created all of us in his image. Like I
Mm.
always say, you'll never look into the eyes of someone who wasn't created by God and loved
Yeah.
by God.
Mm.
So also just remember that however or whatever you believe, like God
Mm.
doesn't love you any more or any
Yeah.
less, like versus the next
Yeah.
person. I also think like when you get to varsity, it is a great time to learn,
Mm.
but also to you become strong in your convictions.
Yeah. Know where you stand.
Yeah. And also like something that I feel like there's different groups, like you get a group that's specifically directed towards people of color,
Mm.
so they can meet, they can speak about things that like white people, for example, are
Mm.
never going to understand.
Mm.
There are groups where it's like people who are into science, and then there's a Christian
Yeah.
group, and then there's, like you said, the LGBTQ plus community, and
Mm.
there's like an atheist club. I know the medical campus has that, and it's something we have to remember is that
Yeah.
people crave community.
Exactly.
And you don't want to deprive someone of having a space where they feel like accepted
Yeah.
and around people that they care about.
Yes, exactly.
And something that I've always, because especially going into ministry,
Mm.
like people are very prone to challenging people, for
Yeah.
example, who've studied theology.
Mm.
And my conviction has always been like I will always be honest, and like my relationship with the Lord and my beliefs will always come before anything else. But there's a passage in the Bible and it says always be ready to give a defense for the hope that is inside you.
Mm.
And it says something about how be gentle and show love so that no one will be able to accuse you of anything other than that.
Yes.
And so like that is my motto. Like
yeah.
I am going to love people like Jesus did,
Yeah.
and they're going to know exactly what the Lord's done in my
Yeah.
life, but I'm not here to like judge
Yeah.
the world. I have no right to do so. Yeah, varsity is a good time,
It's
guys.
a good time. And like
It's better than high school.
if you're going to varsity, like no matter what kind of institution, it's a good time. You're doing what you love. I hope so. Don't do something just because your parents told you to do.
Please.
Don't do something just because you get good marks. Like,
And good
mm,
money.
Yeah,
Gonna be unhappy.
exactly. But we back you.
Yes.
Yeah.
So thank you guys so much for listening.
Yeah,
We are excited for what is to come.
indeed.
So yeah. Stay cool.
See you next time.
Bye.
Bye.